Yo, well, welcome back to the Banter Boys podcast. My name is Sanji, with me is Kendall. How you doing, boy?
I'm doing great. I hope you are.
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. So, let's get things started, right? I always like to do the fan introductions first. Tell me who you are, what's your Twitter handle, which club are you repping tonight, where you're from, a little bit about you, man.
Yeah. So my name's Kendall. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, over in the States. Twitter handle is Realcoholics. Uh, Newcastle fan here. Been a Newcastle fan since I was a young kid. I grew up playing since I was 4 years old and kind of started out in a little indoor place. And this place, I don't know if you remember, they had those huge big screen TVs, the one that had the big speaker down at the bottom. And this place where they would always play, EPL games back in the day. And in the heyday of Newcastle, the 90s, they would always play replays of them. So that's just kind of how I became a fan. My team was black and white stripes, and they were black and white stripes. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe I was wearing a Juventus jersey, and at 6 years old, I didn't even know the difference.
Another legendary club.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
just as legendary as Newcastle.
Exactly. So yeah, I just became a sheer fan and just kind of stuck with it. And then when I started drinking, I saw, back in the day, they had brown ale on the jerseys, and picked up the beer, liked the beer, and just stuck with them.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So have you been to St. James's Park? Like, have you been to Newcastle?
I actually have. I went in 2019, saw them play Brighton on my birthday.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
birthday. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
it was awesome until it was a 0-0 draw, and it was boring as shit.
You know what? I share that sentiment because when I came to the UK for the first time, my brother-in-law took me to my first ever EPL game. It was at London Stadium, West Ham versus Chelsea. I'm a Chelsea fan, and that
Okay.
also ended up being 0-0.
Ah,
Hazard was playing, right?
there-
It was
oh, there
brilliant
you
to see
go.
him, but I would have killed for some goals. Come on, you know.
It's as we get a little bit more into this, I think one of the questions was old versus new, and man, that stadium was empty. And so when I get on Twitter now and I see all these war flags flying and the atmosphere now, I'm like, man, I'm not even going to be able to go to a game again.
Do you not have plans to go anytime soon? You think?
Not anytime soon. I mean, the COVID stuff and traveling and just life
Yeah.
in general. So,
For sure.
but I
Yeah.
do want to get back there. But I'm in a little Geordie Discord chat, and they can't even get tickets.
That
The
is
peop-
mental.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that atmosphere looks absolutely electric.
I get chills, man.
Yeah, honestly,
I get chills.
honestly, yeah, for sure. So, man, tell me a little bit about you. Tell the listeners, like, what do you do? Like, what's your background? Where you come from? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so I mentioned I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I wasn't actually born here. I was born right outside of a suburb in Chicago. Moved here when I was 2. So I'm pretty much raised here. I work for a roofing company. I'm a director of a training program that we develop sales guys. Been playing soccer, football, that since I
What
was
position?
to be honest, all over the place.
That's how you know you're a true football fan. You know.
Yeah, I know. It's funny actually. When I think I was about 8 or 9, I got, they always give the kids everybody gets an award, right? And so I got a MVP, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm the best player on my team. And come to find out, they gave me most versatile player. I was so bummed. I went to my mom. I was like, I don't even know what versatile means.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so good. That's hilarious, man.
So yeah,
Wow.
I work for a roofing company, and then in the fall, our high school season, our soccer season is in the fall.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
about to get back up and running. But I'm an assistant coach at a high
Oh,
school team as
wow.
well. Yeah. So.
Okay, listeners, so you're gonna get some proper tactics tonight, all right?
Maybe. American tactics, at least.
That's all right. We're talking about the draft game,
Yeah.
anyways, right? And that's what American sports are known for,
That's
right?
kick it, run.
So how we're gonna kick things off tonight, as we've done in the previous episodes, we're gonna have three main segments. General discussion. We're gonna talk a little bit about the club, how last season went, new season, what Kennel's expecting, old assets, new assets, formation, how the subs, like the 5 subs rules, and the World Cup, the fucking Winter World Cup. What a pain in the ass. How that's gonna affect us, right? Also, we'll do a little bit of draft advice, right? Talk about the first pick from Newcastle, maybe the next 3 picks, maybe a bit more, at least one hidden gem. Maybe, Kennel has a few more up his sleeve. We never know. And then we'll, get to know his sort of advice, how he deals with trading assets as an experienced Fantrax manager. All right, let's get started, man. And I think this question is definitely relevant because, like, the first few clubs that we've kind of talked to, they didn't really, this question didn't really apply to them, but I think definitely applies to you, right? New manager, new ownership. How does it feel, that transition, right? From Steve Bruce to Eddie Howe.
Oh my gosh, man! I'll even back you up there. It's new ownership. Let's go into that first.
For sure.
I'll be honest with you, man. I kind of about October, November-ish, I quit watching our games. I couldn't do it anymore. Over here you got to wake up early. I'm drinking right now, so it's tough for me to wake up early, anyways, on the weekends. But it was just uninspiring. You wake up every day and you expect a loss. It's like, why wake up? For me, just to turn it on. And it's been like that, and any Newcastle fan will tell you, the Ashley era it's gone, thank gosh. But it was brutal. And then you get these people coming in. He says he's trying to sell the club one after the other, and then you get an actual bid, and then you got to wait a year and a half for it to finally go through. And I don't want to go all up into that. I was reading legal documents and listening to cases and et cetera, and the day that it happened, I mean, you saw the scenes outside St. James Park. I don't think that city slept that day. And so that, I mean, absolutely phenomenal to have new owners, despite the obvious, right? The whole social stuff and what's going on in Saudi Arabia. But as a club, it's just, we just wanted a change. I mean, it could have been anybody.
For sure.
It could have been Elon Musk, and we would have been like, yeah, let's do it. And then, they come in, they kick Bruce out the door and hire Eddie. And, man,
you think Steve Bruce deserved that, though? Or is maybe the scope of the job is just beyond his capabilities, sort of thing?
I think it was just a complete change that they wanted. I think you look across the board and it's like somebody else buying essentially a company, right? And so you come in, you buy a company, and you want to change board members. You want to change basically everything that's going on. I mean, you saw, Dan Ashworth has come in now. So it's not just the manager that they went and changed. So did Bruce deserve it? I think so, to be honest. I mean, the form that they hadn't won a game. It was the longest. I think they actually hold the record for longest going with no wins and still staying up in the EPL.
Yeah, that's mad.
I think it took us 15 games, 16 games, or something crazy like that to get.
Yeah.
So, but with Eddie, super excited. Really, I mean, you kind of saw what he did, and we'll go into some of a little bit of the stats later, but. He came in, had a couple games under his belt, didn't get a win, but second half of the season, I think they finished third or something in the EPL. Break it down like that, and I think they only had 5 losses through 19 games. So I mean, that's huge, and you saw a complete resurgence in some of the players. Especially somebody like Joelinton or Joelinton, or however you guys want to say it. J7. completely new
Midfield
player.
maestro, man. What a
I have no idea what happened, man. No idea. But that guy's an enforcer now. I mean,
It's mental. He almost looks like a Jordi Yaya Toure, if I'm
yeah,
even
no,
so bold to
exactly,
say.
exactly. I mean, he's like Musa Sissoko 2.0 again.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Man, you guys were basically showing like European form, right? Like you're pushing definitely at least a Europa spot, right? Which is crazy, right? And I mean, we can kind of maybe jump into that next segment, right?
Yeah.
Looking at your previous performance versus your new expectations. What are you expecting from Newcastle next season then?
The minimum, bare minimum would be, finish in the top 10. That's the
Yeah,
bare minimum. Like I said, I mean, we only lost 5 games since January, so you could top projection would be top 4. I don't think it's
yeah,
out of the question. I mean, we went the second half of the season
yeah,
finishing in third.
yeah,
So I don't think that's out of the question at all. Other
yeah,
teams in the EPL have definitely strengthened, but I don't think that we're done in the market yet. I know they're trying to
yeah,
bring on at least one new attacker. There's been links with Diaby's, Sensio, etc. Don't know how much more they have to spend. I know they got to get some players out of there before they do that, but who knows? Who knows? So that's kind of the expectations would be somewhere between, I would say, 10 to 10 to 3. I don't think that we'll
yeah.
push for the top 2, and maybe 3 is even a stretch, but I
Yeah.
don't think that it's impossible, to be honest. I
Mm.
mean, we could be looking at January 1st, Newcastle's lost 10, 11 games in all of 2000, what is it, 22,
Yeah.
which would be wild.
That would be extremely wild because I remember at one point when Eddie Howe was like in the full flow of things, like you guys had a like I mean maybe just only worse than City and Liverpool in terms of like an XGC, expected goals conceded. You guys were up there, man.
Yeah,
Like people are talking about starting with like I know like we're a fan tracks podcast, but like I still follow like FPL threads and try to get the news from that, and like those managers are trying to start with Newcastle defenders, right? They're eyeing up the
yeah,
likes of Kieran Trippier,
yeah,
right? Who,
exactly.
listen, has a goal in him
I
every
know.
now and then, right?
He's our one of the things he came in and was instantly our set piece taker.
Yep.
I mean, that's huge, and I think he bagged 2
Yeah.
in the
Yeah. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
maybe 6 games he played until he got back from injury. But I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's jump into maybe some of the assets, right? I do have before we talk about the ins, a couple of well, maybe at least one out that I noticed recently. Kieran Clark going to Sheffield United on loan. Any thoughts about that? You think you guys are gonna miss him, or you're happy that at least he's getting some football,
Nah,
out
he's
there, sort
he's
of
getting
thing?
football. I think I read something about him today, and his quotes were, it's not fun sitting on the bench. I think he was actually relegated to the U23s
Wow,
when
really? That's
come
wild.
January when Dan Burn got in. So he wasn't even training with the first team.
Yeah,
Obviously didn't get any time, and so he basically was like, look, it's no fun sitting on the bench. I've been there and my own, and that's not fun at all. I want to play.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not best of luck to him.
yeah,
True professional. I'll say
yeah.
that, but on to bigger and better things.
For sure. For sure. All right. I mean, we can talk about like some of the summer transfers. I kind of do want to touch on like maybe some of the players that came in halfway throughout the season, right? The likes of Callum Wilson, the likes of Ryan Fraser, Eddie bringing the gang back together,
Yeah, that's
basically,
right.
right?
Yep.
What are your thoughts about that? Are you happy about it, or do you expect maybe bigger signings than them?
Yeah, no, I think Bruno was obviously the biggest.
Yeah.
And to
I
be
mean, he
honest,
is the only real Bruno in the league
yeah,
now, right?
I know exactly. I think he's got more goals in the time. I don't know. I may be misspeaking there, but I probably am. Once Ronaldo got to United, penalties
Yeah,
were no longer the other Bruno's secondary
yeah,
Bruno's
yeah,
thing. So, uh, no, I mean, I think all the signings were pretty good. The only one that I'm a little worried about is what do we do with Chris Wood, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to play much? Probably not, as long as
Yeah.
Wilson's healthy. And even when he did play, yeah, his play was good, but at the end of the day, you got to bag in goals. So,
Yeah.
which I think he had one in
Yeah.
however many games. So that's obviously, why they're hunting for another attacker, whether it be an actual out and out number nine or a winger. Um, I think that, all the other signings were pretty good, and be able to lock down Target from loan to permanent
Yep.
was crucial for him. I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
I think that, we still got Richie on the squad right now, which I think could be an asset when needed.
He's
Cup
almost
games.
to me like Richie's like the Geordie James Milner.
Exactly.
Like the guy never ages, man.
No,
He's
he
just
never.
always ready to go
He,
and just never get in a fight with him because he'll definitely fuck you
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. Between him and Fraser, I mean, I'd like to actually see that battle, but two midgets kind of going at it.
And I mean, we talked about Kieran Trippier. We know how much class he's from. He came in from Atletico Madrid, right? It was just a shame that he picked up that injury because at one point he was like one of the best fullbacks in the league, right?
Yeah.
I think we've got some data on that as well, right? I think in the time that he was fit was game week 22 to 25. He had like the second most total points of all defenders that were available. Like the only person that was doing better than him was Andrew Robertson, and then Joel Matip right behind him. I mean, we all know how Matip kind of smashed it last season, right? So that only
Right.
speaks absolute volumes of what Trippier was doing, right? At that point, he was doing 17.5 points per game. So he definitely is an asset that you're going to be looking at moving forward, right?
Huge.
So let's now jump into the actual new transfers that you have, right? Let's start at the back. Nick Pope. I mean, listen, Dubravka, decent keeper, not gonna lie, but he had a very shaky Euros, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if
Yep.
you remember the goal where he punched it into net.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So clearly, you guys could have used an upgrade, and you did get an upgrade, right?
Yeah.
Nick Pope with the international caps as well. Yeah, you must be buzzing with that signing.
Yeah, man, and I think that, I think they're both quality. I to be honest, I think it's going to be a tough choice for Eddie. I think they're both good. I think Dubravka's a little older, but Pope is. It's going to be tough. I can't pick one or the other. I think it's going to basically, if it were me and Eddie, it's Dubravka's job until he lost it, until he loses it.
Yeah,
Makes a blunder like he did in the Euros.
yeah.
That's just kind of how I would approach it. But at the same time, I can't sit there and say that Pope won't win it in the preseason.
Yeah.
I think the 5 or 6 games we've got coming up are gonna basically determine that. And Dubravka's gonna be pissed if he loses that starting job. But at the same time, from the backside of it, Carl Darlow did a decent job. But at the same time, having two quality EPL goalies to be able to choose from is going to be huge. Darlow or Dubravka got hurt. Darlow had to play. Came back in. Dubravka took over number one again. So there is an injury history there with Darlow. I don't think there is much with Pope. Pretty sure he had a pretty healthy season last year.
Yeah.
Just sucks. His team was pretty terrible, but
I think terrible is an understatement.
yeah, he
Kendall.
didn't have much help. So if you're basing it on,
Yeah.
I think he still put up pretty good Fantrax points, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
I mean, someone's got to do the job,
So-
right? So
right.
it was,
I mean, we could have been in goal, and we probably would have put up just as much.
Exactly. All right. Let's move on to the next big name signing. I want to say because we did kind of touch on Matty Target and all those other boys.
Yep.
Sven Botman from Lille. A proper center back, right?
Yeah.
I think you guys have been chasing him for a little while now.
Little while.
Finally, that's through the door. Again, another big name signing. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, he's gonna plop right into the starting 11. The interesting part to me is how so Botman's a left-footed center back, and So is Dan Byrne, who we got in January. So how they're going to manage that, whether, I would assume that Botman would get the start over Byrne, but at the same time, do they go three in the back? Do they go four in the back? What do they do? Three center backs with Shar, Botman, Byrne. Maybe not in that order. Maybe Burns sliding in the middle for the height reasons and pace reasons. But at the same time, to be honest, I'm ecstatic. I mean, they, like you said, they've been chasing that guy for quite a while now. They tried to do the January deal, didn't go through.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, I can't fault for getting a up and coming 22-year-old center back that is highly touted.
Yeah.
So
For
I'm
sure.
excited to see how that really plays out with regards to our goals against coming up in the season and how many clean sheets we can keep and how he gels with everybody. I think he's the only Dutch player that we have on our team, and
Okay.
there could be it's always tough for players moving into new leagues, and
Yeah.
how he fits in and communication, etc.
So, do you think that kills Jamal Lascelles' value then in your team?
From a Fantrax side, yeah, I
Yeah.
think uh, it's interesting from the aspect of I think that they're going to give the ban to Trippier,
Mm-hmm.
which it was flopping back and forth between Lascelles and Shelby,
Yeah.
and Trippier.
Lord Voldemort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, man,
Yeah.
exactly. Between Trippier and I think they'll give him the band. I think that
Yeah.
what he showed when he was hurt and bringing the guys together, and he was always in the locker room after games, taking crazy pictures and working with the guys on the field. And to be honest, I think Trippier is going to end up being a manager someday. I really
Yeah.
do, but I think that Lascelles, he's third choice, fourth choice now.
I mean, it's
Um,
good to have that depth, right?
it is. Oh
If you
yeah,
if you're gonna push that top 10 or even let's argue a dare to dream sort of like European spot, you're gonna need that depth, right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
and kind of going back to the new season expectations. One of the big ones that I didn't touch on was a cup run. We haven't had a cup
Mm.
run
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quarterfinals, semifinals, maybe even a finals. And a guy like
Yeah.
Lascelles is going to be needed. A guy like
Yeah.
Dubravka is going to be needed.
Hundred
Um,
percent.
you talk about a couple of other names. You know, Jamal Lewis, Willock,
Yeah.
ML Kraft. I don't know how much you pay attention to, the Newcastle Twitter feeds and whatnot from the official account of them.
Hmm.
But I think ML Kraft was one of the biggest ones that all the players voted on as something along the lines of like most important player or something along the
Oh
lines of
wow.
that.
Okay.
From and even
That's
Trippier,
wild.
I think even Trippier
Yeah. Yeah.
gave him those kudos.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, at one point last season, they kind of needed him, right?
oh, definitely,
Threw him in, and he did a job. I mean, not maybe not Fantrax returns like consistently, but
yeah,
he did a job,
he did the
right?
job.
So
So and no, and that's what I say. I mean, these assets that were starting 11s
yeah.
material in Fantrax, they're going to come into play for the outside of the Fantrax reasons.
All right. Love it. So there's two more names that I'm seeing here, and I feel like these are probably ones for the future youth players. Alex Murphy from Galway United and Charlie MacArthur from Kilmarnock. I think I'm
Yeah,
pronouncing that
yeah.
right. Do we have to really consider them as Fantrax assets, or this is just Newcastle just planning for the future?
Yeah, this is us planning for the future, and this is honestly, I touched on Dan Ashworth a little earlier, and this is pure him. I don't know if many people know about him. I'm sure the UK listeners do, the US listeners. This guy came in, he worked for the England setup, I believe, for a little bit and trying to develop that, and then he came to to Brighton, and you see some of the signings that they've made. I mean, 1 year
Yeah.
Cucurella, awesome Fantrax player. Man City's already trying to get him after 1 year. And
That's
so,
mental.
yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely crazy. So those are definitely signings for the future. I don't think they'll see any, maybe a cup game on the bench. If they get up 3, 4, 5-0, they'll see a substitution. But um, it just goes to show what Dan Ashworth can do, um,
Yeah.
and who he spots and who he sees. But I wouldn't see anything. I've read a little bit about them. They're highly touted, but in the long run, that's where they're going to be.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, now that we've kind of covered the assets and stuff, I think let's jump into expected formation, starting 11. What do you see here?
So I see. I mean, there's a couple that I saw. I mean, I think that for the start, it'll be pretty similar to what you saw last season. Um, 4-1-2-3 situation. Trippier, Shar, Botman, target. Obviously, we kind of touched on the goalie situation. It's a toss-up, flip of the coin. Shelby right in front of them, kind of playing this CDM role. Bruno Jolinton. And then on the right wing, it's going to be a little interesting. I think right now it's Miggy and Frazier. Almiron and Frazier kind of battling that out, seeing who's going to go. But at the same time, we're looking to get somebody like a Moussa Diaby in. That would be instant plop and play, right?
Yeah.
Then Wilson and ASM on the other side. So that's probably what we're going to start out with. I think we got a pretty easy, uh, well, not easy, it's EPL, but uh,
There's no easy games.
there's
Yeah.
no easy
Yeah.
games. But we play a promoted team first in Nottingham Forest, so that's probably
Yeah.
what the lineup's going to be. You know, off the gate, but I also see him kind of going with a three in the back situation for some games too, with Shar, Burn in the middle, and Botman kind of playing on the left. Trippier, Shelby, Target kind of running that line right in front of him. Trippier and Target is going to be more of a wing back type role.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then up front is going to be a little tough to really pin this down on Bruno and then kind of those front three. Does Joelinton get another start or another shot at playing that number 9 role?
Yeah.
If you go that route and stick Burn in, maybe that's the lineup that they go. I think game week 3 you've got City, so
Yeah.
that may where you see it as another defender getting plugged in. And then I
Yeah.
think 5 we get game week 5 we get Liverpool. So you may
Mm-hmm.
see the same type of lineup there. But those are the two that I kind of see getting deployed. I may have it, a little bit wrong, but if it were me, which it ain't gonna be, that's probably that's
I mean,
probably what I would go with.
listen, never say never, right?
I don't know. I would probably retire and give it to Eddie Howe. So
Well, okay, so it's interesting you've brought up two formations. Are you just expecting the 4-1-2-3 more as your regular one, and then when you're coming up against the difficult teams, you just plug in that back three?
yeah, that's kind of what
Okay.
I see happening.
Okay.
Under Bruce, we played a lot of defensive ball, and we gave
Yeah.
up possession, and Eddie Howe came in and flipped it on its head. And so that's,
Yeah.
when we went up against, mid-table teams last year, that's what we deployed. And
Yeah.
and that I see that kind of sticking around.
Okay.
One of the interesting things about last year, even not Eddie Howe time, Bruce time, um, we scored goals. I think something like,
Yeah.
in the 14 losses we had in a row, we were the first team to score. So even then, playing a defensive um, system, we have the
Yeah.
ability to score goals. It's just everybody's got to
Yeah.
stay healthy. That's the big thing that I see from a tough part, and that's where you kind of go into the second formation, even against harder teams, is Wilson has the injury history, and if
Yeah.
J7
Yeah.
you can plop him in there, which I don't know why we couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he may be better in the
Yeah.
midfield.
Brilliant. All right. Now let's quickly move on to the issue of the new five sub rule and that fucking World Cup. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love a World Cup. It is one of the best, most magnificent tournaments ever. But this is just purely for the sake of fucking money, and it's disgusting.
I
But we
know,
gotta talk
I
about
know,
it, right?
I know.
So who do you think is at most risk when we're drafting Newcastle assets? Like, who you most worried about? Who are the players that are be gone for the World Cup? Like, yeah, just can you inform us on this?
Yeah, so I took a kind of a stab at this. I didn't do too much prepping when it came to the World Cup, but Bruno is going to be gone. Pope's most likely going to be gone. Trippier's going to be gone, and I believe Switzerland are in it too. So Char's going to be gone. I
Yeah.
may be missing a game. I don't think Paraguay made it. Otherwise, you would see Miggy gone, but I don't think that that's going to be. I don't think that they made it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the only other one that I could see gone would be Botman if he makes the Netherlands team, which I think
Yeah.
that he probably would, but I'm not sure that he's going to get the start over Virgil. So
Yeah.
um, from a World Cup side, those are the ones that I'm looking for. And again, if you get ASM may make the French team.
Yeah.
If we get another striker and they make their national team, I don't want to speculate too much on who it may
Yeah.
be because no offense, but British media is a little crazy when it comes to player links. It's like everybody in the world. Oh, you're rich, you get Ronaldo every time. It's
Oh,
like-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Definitely a bit mental. I mean, we didn't even touch on that actually. Are you expecting like more signings, like one or two at least?
yeah, I think they're expecting at least one for the first team, and then a
Okay.
few more for the reserve, the youths. I think they let go of 8, if I'm not mistaken, youth players,
Mm,
and they've only, like you touched on earlier, 2. They've only brought in 2,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
eh, and not even talking about are any of the youth players going to be able to make the first team this year. You got
Mhm.
guys like of Elliot Anderson who potentially could make it. I think there's a couple more as well, but I definitely expect more youth players to come in,
Mhm.
and at least one or two more first team players. I mean, we still got to get rid of a couple of players. I'm just kind of scrolling down the list here. Dwight Gale's he's got to get out. I don't know if Federico
Yeah.
Fernandez, he may already be gone. Jeff Hendricks already gone.
Yeah.
Uh, there's 3 or 4 names there that you could say, that see ya. Darlow most
Yeah.
likely gone. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
keep him around. I mean, I'm sure that he saw Nick Pope get signed and he was like, I'm done. See ya.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, with the subs rules, like the only players that like I'm worried maybe from a Fantrax perspective, Frazier. Like, for example, we saw him last season in one game. I think he got like maybe 7 or 8 key passes. Right, he
Yeah.
just kept like hitting the ball into the box. But then the next game he get you like 0.5 points. Like it wasn't that consistent,
No.
right? Also, you talked about the worry for Chris Wood. I mean, aerial machine, right? He at one point he was churning out enough aerials to get you at least 10 points a game, but then that slowly died off, right? And I mean, it didn't help that one of his few goals also just came from the penalty spot, right?
Right.
He's probably gonna totally drop off as a Fantrax asset.
Yeah.
So it's a little sad to see these, I want to say Fantrax legends
Right.
in giant fucking quotation
Right,
marks, right?
right.
Kind of go away, but c'est la vie, that's life.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I think that some of these players they're gonna just slowly die off, and especially if you get more signings in, like Chris Wood. I mean, you ask incoming disappointments, say 20 mil for that guy. I mean,
Yeah.
no offense, Chris, if you're listening, but
Oh, he's definitely listening. We're big, yo. With a banter boys, yo. No, but on a real, like I think that buy was also just a purely like if we can't guarantee safety, let's screw over another club from
pretty
guaranteeing
much.
safety, right?
No, yeah,
Let's
no,
take that from
and
Burnley.
I think with these owners, you kind of have to look at it. I mean, to be honest, they took a page in my mind. They took a page out of Sir Alex's book.
Mm.
One of the big things that I actually really, I mean, there's a ton of things that you can appreciate from Sir Alex, but he was always going in and buying the top players from other teams constantly.
Robin van Persie.
Robin van Persie. I mean, you can go down the list of them.
Yeah.
And in a way, yeah, sure, they were fighting to win the league, but you go, it's to me, it's the same kind of scenario, right? You pay kind of
Yeah.
top dollar for a guy just to screw over somebody else, plus you fill a need. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
why not?
Why
Screw
not?
it,
Yeah.
you know?
For sure. Well said. Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to our next segment, the draft segment, the segment that all the fans are here for, right?
Yeah,
The segment that everyone's gonna fast forward to,
Yeah.
Kendall.
Go for it. Go for it.
So, who is your first pick from Newcastle?
I think this is a pretty obvious one. And if you're not doing this, then shame on you. But Saint Maximin's got to go. He's I don't know what he finished. I think 22 overall last year in Fantrax. And I think he played. Let me kind of look it up here.
I think he finished 17th overall, actually.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
I don't consider
my
goalkeepers. Oh, okay. I thought it's because you had goalkeepers in your list. I don't fucking.
Oh, it may be that too. I mean, if there was
Maybe.
3 more goals, I don't know, but yeah,
Maybe,
my
I don't know.
home
But
league.
listen,
rules
top
are a
20.
little
Let's say
different,
top
so-
20.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
We're not here to give you accurate information.
No.
We're here to give you entertaining information. All right.
Yeah.
If you want accurate information, go listen to the boys out
There you
at the
go.
Draft Society. I fucking love their content. Plug for those boys, But yeah, ASM. If listen, the guy is so entertaining to look at.
He is.
Dribbles like almost every player on the squad. The only person that I know dribbles better than him is Adama Traore. But
Yeah.
listen, I don't know if you follow ASM's Twitter account. He is fucking hilarious.
Oh, dude, he's great. And I'm still trying to get my hands on whatever the hell board game he made.
Wait, he
and
made a board game? Whoa,
Oh
whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
dude. Oh yeah. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Game. Yeah, man, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I'll send this to you. It's called Helios. Apparently Saint this guy is like obsessed with Greek mythology, and he made a board game called Helios, and he's like, that's kind of his like hobby, and like I guess whenever he retires he's gonna go around and promoting this game. I've tried to like DM him and stuff to get a copy of this game and I don't know how to get it, to be honest with you. I have no idea. Yeah, the inspiration came from, this is a quote from him in Sunsport. The inspiration came from Greek mythology. When I was young, I learned about Zeus and Athena and saw a lot of films and anime movies with them. When you start to understand, you really love it. So like,
That is
yeah,
fucking
on
awesome.
like,
if you can't love him anymore,
I
like,
know.
you just
I was
did.
like, what in the world? Like, nah, this like, it's funny. When I was in Newcastle, I laugh. But Paul Dummett and I share the same birthday, believe it or not. And
oh no way,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
And so I met these two Aussie kids, just happenstance,
Yeah.
and we went out drinking one night, and I don't know what the pub was, but we walk in. There was nobody in there except Jolinton, Shelby, Dummett, and a couple of the other players, and Dummett was absolutely trashed. Absolutely trashed. So, what I was gonna say is, these guys are going out there and getting trashed on the night, and
Yeah.
here's ASM like going to his little board game corner with all the nerds.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It looks fun, man. I gotta play it sometime.
Definitely. Yeah, but I mean, in terms of ASM, like we talked about like his injury record, right? It sucks, definitely,
Mhm.
right? But he is definitely up there as one of the top assets to own. End of
Yes.
season, he finished on 381 fantasy points if you're
Yep.
playing default
Yep.
scoring. He was averaging at least 10, closer to 11 points a game, right?
Yeah.
He is an absolute ghost machine.
He's a
like,
stud.
and it's even better that he's a midfielder, because finding good midfielders in this game is very, very difficult, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely one of the top players I think that I'm gonna try and get next season. So let's now move on to maybe the next 3 picks. Who are the ones that you're gonna go for?
Yeah, so in no particular order, I'll say this. Draft is it's kind of why I fell in love with I was an original Toga player.
Mm,
But draft is an interesting thing. So, depending on your pick,
yeah.
you can go forward, defense forward, however it plays out. But, the three players that I'm going for next, not picking around, but, Bruno, Wilson, and
Mm,
Trippier. Those are the three.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a favorite pick out of all of them. I would probably say Bruno and Trippier going higher than Wilson.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that, I haven't looked too much into who gets nominated as a forward versus a midfielder these days, but obviously Bruno and Trippier are going to pretty much play their position.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you can go out there and find forwards and get Wilson, maybe fifth, sixth round. I haven't looked, like I said, I haven't looked too much into, ADPs and whatnot, but I would probably say Bruno, Trippier, Wilson would be the next kind of three picks from the Newcastle squad. And then, you know, I kind of put this one in the hidden gem category, but at the same time, it could be your next pick as well.
Yeah.
Whoever the incoming attacker would be, if we sign one, would probably be up there
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, if you look at the Fantrax data from January 1st, 2022, arranged by points per game, Trippier tops the list, 11.83. Then it's
Wow.
Callum Wilson, 10.17 or whatever, right? So basically, at least 10 points. Like, even when Callum came back from his injury, he looked like a bit of a goal machine, man.
Yeah.
Like, he looked really, really good. It was a shame that he came back so late because he could have used some of the goals that
Yeah.
Wood wasn't
I
scoring,
know.
right?
I know.
It was kind of mental. And you talk about Bruno, like we've got a little bit of data in a sense, right? We're talking about where we're drafting Bruno. I think Bruno's first real start was in game week 28, and if you look at like the points for since then, he was sitting I think seventh of all midfielders, right? Beating the likes of Mason Mount, Trossard, McGinn, James Ward-Prowse, Coutinho, right? Rafinha. Those are some big fucking
I
names,
know. Was
right?
he ahead of Bruno?
So
The other Bruno?
listen, Bruno's not even this
Ah!
fucking list, so
Toss that guy out. I love
yeah,
it.
it's crazy. But my only concern though is like, do you think getting another, let's say Newcastle have the money to splash, they get a top forward, a top striker. Do you think maybe that slightly dampens Bruno's like goal potential because they kind of needed someone to step up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think of the game where he got that brace, right? It was totally out of the blue. I'm not gonna lie, I picked him up. I remember in my OFPL draft, I was like, I'm gonna pick Bruno. No one's gonna fucking get this guy. Guy goes and scores a
Yeah.
fucking brace. You
Boom.
know, I
Yeah.
fucking love that.
Yeah. I don't. I don't see, to be honest with you, any worry from him.
Yeah,
Whether it's ghost points, whether it's not. The one of the biggest things with him is he's plug and play. He's not
yeah,
coming out of the team unless it's injured.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
nobody that's going to replace him. I mean, he's one of the first names on the team sheet every week. So that's
yeah,
that's what you kind of want from a midfielder in a way, right? You
yeah,
don't have to sit there and have to worry about substitutions and this, that, and the other thing, and do I start him, do I
yeah,
not? I will say he doesn't necessarily put up the best ghost points,
yeah,
but at the same time, again, you don't have to worry about him. So,
yeah,
from an asset standpoint, definitely one that I would want on my team. Maybe he's your
mm-hmm,
mid two. That's
yeah,
probably where I would put him. Um,
yeah,
but he's got goals in him. He's got
yeah,
assists in him.
yeah,
And he's gonna also, win the ball, get tackles, and then, ghost points are gonna come and go, just like, we talked about with Chris Wood. The extra
yeah,
little point off a clean sheet. You got Botman back there. You may have a little bit of a better chance on a clean sheet this year than
yeah,
last year.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So I mean his passing into the final third. I don't know if that's a topic that people are talking about. I know that there was like a secondary assist topic that people were talking about. I don't
yeah.
know how many he had last year. I don't want to go in and count or whatnot, but I think that he's probably up there in that category as well.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So yeah, I definitely, between him and Trippier, that's probably the two that I would go and target, maybe
Yeah.
round three, round four. And then
Yeah.
Wilson's probably a little bit later, but I don't think that you can go wrong with any of them.
Yeah, I think I'd go Trippier before Bruno and Wilson just for the sake of set
Yeah,
pieces, right?
I
And
would
he's
agree.
absolutely lethal from a free kick,
Hmm
right? So, and you guys look good for a clean sheet,
mm,
so can't go wrong there. Like so many boxes being ticked there.
exactly.
Let's move on now though to hidden gem. Who do you have?
Yeah, so I'm gonna put in Matt Target and Joelinton
Mm,
here. You can probably even slide in Botman, but that's gonna be a little bit more of a precaution than anything else. But
yeah,
yeah, Matt Target and Joelinton. I mean, again, you talk about first names on team sheets, so that
yeah.
those guys check the boxes. Joelinton, I think he got redesignated to a midfielder this year.
Yep, he did. Yeah,
So
yeah. Love to see it.
yeah, I'd love to see it, right? I hated picking him up last year, later in the
Yeah,
season because he moved and yeah, sure, he's a great midfielder apparently now.
yeah,
Who would have known?
yeah,
But now I'll take him any day on my team. I mean, again, I think he's a first
yeah,
player on the team sheet. You saw what he did. I don't know necessarily how many ghost points he was racking up and whatnot. I think he bagged a couple late in the season. I'm looking at May 16th. Yeah, he had a key pass and an assist.
yeah.
And he had
I think one game he had like a brace or something towards the end. It might have
yep.
been versus
Yeah,
Norwich. So
Norwich
I
he
mean,
had
take that with a grain of
two.
salt.
Yeah, Norwich he had two, and he only played 66 minutes as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. A man
A
reborn,
man reborn.
to say
I,
the
I, I
least.
tell you,
Yeah,
thank you, Mike
yeah.
Ashley. That's the only thing I got to thank you for. But
Oh man.
uh,
All right, let's move on to our final segment then. Trading assets, right? So, Kendall, how do you go about trading with other managers in your leagues, right? Do you look at form? Do you look at fixtures? Do you look at both? Do you do like 2-for-1 deals? Like what's your secret sauce?
Oh man. To be honest, I've probably been pretty bad at the trading side of things. But I do know the Draft Society is kind of put together, and I'm not exactly sure who did it, but one of my ideas, and I play a lot of fantasy American football as well, and one of the big things that I try to look at specifically is future matchups
Yeah,
and how you're not going to score a lot versus Man City. So if I'm playing Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and those are my next three games at Newcastle, I'm not going to go and try and get a Newcastle player. Like, I'm going to try to probably trade them
yeah,
out, whatever. So
yeah,
that's kind of one of the big things that I look at from the beginning is what are the future fixtures looking like, and so that that goes into the other thing that you touched on was 2-for-ones. I always like to be on either side of those trades, the two for
yeah,
one trades.
yeah,
Um, whether I that's helping my bench out or it's getting a plug and play every single week, kind of like a Bruno. Um, I would love to have that. Now, does it always work out? No, but at the same time, you can flip those players, especially in a 2-for-1. That's why I like being on the other half to where I can get two players in. Maybe I couple
yeah,
them with somebody else. I'm wheeling and dealing behind the scenes and say, hey,
yeah,
if I get this player and I pair them up with that player, how would you feel? I've got an offer right now, etc. And then I turn around and I flip that player, one of the extra two, for maybe a stud that I'd rather have
yeah,
than the one than I gave up.
yeah,
So that's kind of the strategy that I go with as it comes to Newcastle players. Uh, I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to kind of see as the
mm,
season goes on. I usually don't like to make trades early on in the season, meaning first 6 to 8 weeks is probably when I'll
yeah,
start looking at players. But week three,
yeah,
I'm not looking for a transfer at all. I'm not looking at
yeah,
a trade. You can have Timo Pukki for I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and
yeah.
it's like that was one of the trades that was made in my home league, and guy shot himself in the foot. I mean, It's like
Yeah.
didn't score for the rest of the season or whatever it was, you know. So
I
I
get
kind
that.
of like to be a little bit more patient on my side.
Yeah,
I'll take a loss if it needs it. I mean, it's getting a lot more competitive out there. I think a lot of people are switching over to
for sure.
Fantrax, which is a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Come over to the dark side. We have
come,
cookies. Come,
come,
guys.
please come over. Uh,
Listen, I think another way I kind of like to look at like the trades and stuff as well is that I agree with you. Like, don't go in too early. Kind of assess the lay of the land. Get a feel for who actually has value. Moving forward. I really like to look at I mean, it depends on your league, right? If you have playoffs, look at the final three fixtures of the teams that have, right? For example, like Brentford's final three fixtures are West Ham at home, Spurs away, Man City at
yeah,
home.
no.
I don't think you're gonna get many points, right?
Mm-mm.
So maybe around like game week 30, you trade out that Brentford asset, like you give out that Ivan Toney, right? And maybe try to, I don't know, get I don't want to see a Manchester United player. God,
Yeah.
let me not tempt fate there. but maybe an Arsenal. Like, let's go lesser of two evils, right?
Right.
Because they've got Brighton at home, Nottingham Forest away, Wolves at home, right? That's like like a lot tastier, right, than your Brentford asset sort of thing,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So maybe look at the fixtures that way when you're trading as well. But yeah, it's always interesting to get different managers' perspectives on how they kind of go about the game and stuff like that. So yeah, I love that. But that's all we really had planned for the pod. That's all we had to discuss. Man, Kendall, it's been fantastic having you on board. Do you have any final thoughts, closing remarks you want to sign off with?
Go Geordies, and thank you for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure. This was my first one I've ever done, so
Oh, I
hopefully
fucking love it,
let's
man.
let's
Yeah,
touch base mid-season, maybe
for
during the
sure,
World
for
Cup or
sure.
something, and we'll make a bet or something. One of
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
the one of the
yeah.
big things for all you UK fans, mark your date. I already have November 26th. It's on, baby. Fuck yeah,
All
let's
right,
go.
let's do it.
USA.
Yeah,
USA.
for sure.
USA. Ole, 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 ole. USA. USA.
Before we sign off, though, I gotta get your take then, because I mean, I've had American fan tracks players come on the pod. You're the first one that's brought up the World Cup. Quick expectations. Like, how far do you think you guys are gonna go?
Shit, man. Shit. Well,
I
we're
put
in
you
the
on the
group.
spot now.
We're in the group.
Yeah.
England may
Okay.
finish second.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, well, that's assuming England leave their group after they shot the bed in the
yeah.
Nations League.
Oh,
But
I saw that, man. Well done. Well done. Kudos. Proper. Uh,
uh,
Good. We'll go expectations. Get out of the group.
at least,
Get out of the
at
group.
least quarterfinals,
Get out of the
right?
group. Get out of the group.
Yeah. Okay.
Quarterfinals is
Yeah.
expectations.
That's what I think.
But
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up again. But I think either way, if you finish 1-2, you're pretty much screwed. Because I think we play. I think we play Group A.
Yeah.
1 and 2, and that would be, I think, Netherlands or most likely Senegal. I don't think Ecuador's getting out of that group.
I mean, that would be a nice matchup. Senegal versus US. That'd be a great game.
That's if we finish
I think
first,
Kendall's gonna go pour another drink.
Yeah,
Guys.
pretty much. Yeah, no, dude, I do not want to face Mane, man. Shit.
Oh,
But I also
absolutely
don't want
love
to.
it.
You finish second, then you go up against Netherlands, and you go up. I mean, look at
Yeah.
that team. I mean, no thanks, no thank you. And then I think even after that, you get to probably. I think it comes down to Argentina. So
Yeah, you definitely don't want
yeah,
that.
so I think it's if you finish first, you'll most likely get Senegal and then play Argentina.
Yeah.
If you finish
Yeah.
second, you get Netherlands, and then who the hell knows what team after that. If you win.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
our team's so young, man. Like I said, quarterfinals I'd be happy. I'd be happy with.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Love
screw
it.
all that shit I just said. Just beat England on the 26th. Just beating you.
That's all
That's
that
all that
matters.
matters.
I think that's the perfect way to sign off. All right, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Newcastle. Kendall, again, pleasure to have you on.
Thanks.
And listeners, just let you know, Kendall's fully decked out in all of his Newcastle gear possible. All right, so I fucking love this episode, guys. We'll catch you on the next episode. Until then, peace.